I never thought I'd be the kind of person to inherit millions. Hell, I could barely afford my student loans. But there I was, sitting in a mahogany-paneled conference room while Patricia's lawyer read her will. My mother-in-law, my husband Mark's mom, the woman who'd treated me like family from day one. To my daughter-in-law Harper, I leave my entire estate, valued at approximately $40 million. The room went silent. I felt my face go hot. 40 million? That couldn't be right. I looked at Mark, expecting him to be as shocked as I was. But the expression on his face, I'd never seen him look like that before. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the vein in his temple throbbing. "This is bullshit," he said. His voice was low. "Dangerous. I know what you're thinking right now. Red flag, right?" "Yeah." I should have paid attention to that tone, but I was too busy trying to process what I'd just heard. Patricia left me everything? Nothing to her own son? The lawyer cleared his throat. "There's a letter as well. For Harper." Mark stood up so fast his chair fell backwards. "A letter? What the hell did you do to my mother?" "Mark," I started, but he cut me off. Don't you dare act innocent." His face was red now, spit flying. "You manipulated her. You got into her head. My mother was sick and you took advantage of that." I felt like I'd been slapped. We'd been married 3 years. 3 years of him being kind, supportive, normal. This person screaming at me? I didn't know him. Maybe I should tell you about Patricia first before this gets more complicated. She was 67 when I met Mark, sharp as a tack, ran her own investment firm, lived in this beautiful house in the suburbs. When Mark brought me home to meet her, I was terrified. I was just a high school English teacher. My family didn't have money. But Patricia hugged me at the door and said, "Finally someone real." We got close fast. Really close. She'd invite me over for lunch, just us two. We'd talk about books, life, everything. Mark used to joke that his mom liked me more than him. I thought it was sweet. Funny how wrong you can be about everything. "Mark, I didn't know about this," I said, standing up. My hands were shaking. "I swear I didn't." "Liar!" He grabbed the letter from the lawyer's hands and ripped it open. His eyes scanned the page. With every line he read, his face got darker. "She says here," his voice cracked, "she says you're the only one she can trust." "That I've been—" He stopped, crumpled the letter. "This is insane. My mother was mentally ill. This will isn't valid." The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Donovan, your mother was of sound mind. I have medical evaluations." "Forged." Mark pointed at me. "She forged them. She poisoned my mother against me. She kept us apart." He turned to his sisters, Emma and Grace, who'd been silent this whole time. "You saw it too, right? How Harper wouldn't let us visit Mom." I felt my stomach drop. "That's not true. Your mom was tired. The chemo made her exhausted." "Chemo that you were in charge of," Mark interrupted. "Medications that you administered. Who knows what you were really giving her?" The room started spinning. This couldn't be happening. Patricia died 2 weeks ago from cancer. I was with her at the end. She held my hand and said, "Thank you for being strong." I thought she meant for supporting Mark through his grief. Now I understood. She meant something else entirely. "I'm filing an emergency petition," Mark announced, declaring my mother mentally incompetent at the time this will was drafted. Harper isolated her, manipulated her, probably drugged her. He looked at me, and his eyes were cold. "Dead. You're not getting a penny of my mother's money." I wanted to defend myself, to explain. But Emma was crying now, telling the lawyer how I wouldn't let them say goodbye to Patricia, how I kept them away during her final weeks. Grace was nodding, adding details about how strange Patricia had acted in her last months. It was all lies, but they were saying it so convincingly, I almost believed them myself. Had I kept them away? No. No, Patricia specifically told me she didn't want them visiting, said she needed peace. But how could I prove that now? The meeting ended with Mark threatening to sue me, the lawyer looking uncomfortable, and me walking to my car in a daze. When I got home, I found the envelope Patricia's lawyer had given me. the one with my name on it in her handwriting. Inside was a letter and a USB drive. Harper, the letter read, "If you're reading this, I'm gone, and Mark has shown his true colors. I'm sorry for putting you in this position, but you're the only one strong enough to handle what's on this drive. The only one I can trust. Watch the videos, then decide what to do. I believe in you. Love, Patricia." My hands were trembling so bad I could barely plug the USB into my laptop. The first video file was dated 6 months before Patricia's diagnosis. I clicked play. Patricia's face filled the screen. She looked healthy, alert. She was sitting at her desk in her home office. "This is Patricia Donovan," she began, her voice steady. "Today is March 15th. I am of sound mind. I am recording this because I've discovered something about my son Mark that I can no longer ignore." I felt cold sweat on my back. There were 47 videos on the drive, all dated, all time-stamped. For the past 15 years, Mark has been systematically stealing from me. He created false investment accounts, forged my signature on documents. He's embezzled approximately $12 million that I've been able to trace so far. My vision blurred, not crying yet, but close. I wanted to believe I was wrong, that my son wouldn't do this, but the evidence is clear: bank statements, forged contracts, shell companies registered in my name that I never authorized. He thinks I don't pay attention to the details anymore. He's wrong. The video went on. Patricia explained how she'd hired a private investigator, how she'd discovered Mark had been planning this for years, how he was waiting for her to die so he could take everything. "I'm leaving everything to Harper," Patricia continued, "because she's the only person in my life who's never asked me for money, who's never looked at me like a bank account. She loves Mark despite him, not because of what he'll inherit. She deserves better than what's coming, but she's strong enough to handle it." I couldn't watch anymore. My chest felt hollow, like someone reached in and ripped everything out. Everything I thought I knew about Mark. Lies. Our entire marriage. Lies. But I didn't have time to process. Someone was knocking on the door. Pounding, really. I opened it. 2 police officers stood there. "Harper Donovan?" "Yes?" "You're under arrest for elder abuse and suspicion of forging documents related to Patricia Donovan's estate." My blood turned to ice. "What? No, I didn't." They were reading me my rights. Handcuffs, cold metal on my wrists. My neighbors were watching from their windows. One officer was collecting my laptop, the USB drive. At the station, Mark was already there. He came up to me while I was being processed. The officers were distracted with paperwork. He leaned in close, whispered in my ear. "Patricia's lawyer? The one who drafted her real will? They found him yesterday, apparent suicide." He smiled. "Terrible tragedy. He was such a good man." My throat closed up, couldn't get words out. "Those videos you found?" Mark continued. "They're evidence now. Evidence of how you manipulated a sick, dying woman. By the time my lawyers are done, you'll be the villain in this story." He straightened up, spoke louder for the officers to hear. "I just hope she gets the help she needs. My poor wife. The stress of Mom's death must have broken her." He walked away, left me standing there in handcuffs, watching everything I thought was real crumble into nothing. Was I wrong to trust Patricia? Should I have seen this coming? I don't know anymore. All I knew was that the man I married was a stranger, and he was willing to destroy me to get what he wanted. So tell me, when someone you love turns into a monster, how are you supposed to fight back? Drop a comment, because I was about to find out the hard way. They released me on bail the next morning, but they kept my passport. Insurance that I wouldn't run, they said, like I had anywhere to go. When I got home, the house was empty. Mark had cleared out his stuff. Every photo of us together, gone. His clothes, his laptop, his coffee mug collection that I'd carefully built for him over 3 years, all of it, just vanished. On the kitchen counter, I found divorce papers and a note. "Since you've shown your true colors, I see no reason to continue this charade. My lawyer will be in touch. Don't bother contacting me. M." I almost laughed. Almost. The audacity of him playing victim when he was the one who'd been stealing from his dying mother, but I couldn't afford to fall apart. Not yet. My phone buzzed. Text from my mom. Harper, we need to talk. Mark called. He's very upset. What's going on? So he'd already started working on my family, planting seeds, making himself look like the betrayed husband. I'd deal with that later. First, I needed help. Real help. Someone who knew Patricia. Someone who might believe me. I called Elsa, Patricia's private nurse. She'd been with Patricia for the last year of her life. If anyone knew the truth, it would be her. Harper. Elsa's voice was cautious when she answered. I heard about the arrest. I'm so sorry. Elsa, I need to ask you something. Did Patricia ever talk to you about Mark? About money? Silence on the other end. Then, can we meet? Not at your house? Somewhere public? We met at a coffee shop downtown. Elsa looked nervous, kept glancing at the door like she expected someone to burst in. When she sat down, she slid an envelope across the table. Patricia gave me this 3 days before she died, Elsa said quietly. She said if anything happened to her lawyer, or if Harper got arrested, I was supposed to give this to you. Inside were bank statements, dozens of them, highlighted transfers, marked accounts, notes in Patricia's handwriting. Mark has been embezzling from her for 15 years, Elsa explained. Patricia figured it out about a year ago. She hired forensic accountants, private investigators. She documented everything. These statements show $12 million moved through fake investment accounts, all traced back to Mark. I felt sick. $12 million. While I'd been teaching high school English for $40,000 a year, my husband had been stealing millions from his dying mother. Why didn't she turn him in? I asked. She wanted to protect him at first, thought maybe she could fix it, make him pay it back quietly. But then, Elsa's voice dropped even lower. She discovered it wasn't just her. Mark was running some kind of operation, targeting other wealthy elderly people, Patricia's friends, people who trusted him because he was her son. My hands were shaking so bad I spilled my coffee. You know that feeling when your body knows you're in danger before your brain catches up? That. How many others? Patricia found evidence of at least 20 victims, maybe more. She was compiling everything to give to the FBI, but then she got sick, really sick, and she ran out of time. I thought about Patricia in those final weeks. How she'd squeeze my hand and say, "You're stronger than you think." How she'd made me promise to fight for what's right, no matter what it costs. She'd been preparing me, training me, and I hadn't understood until now. There's something else, Elsa said. She pulled out her phone and showed me a local news segment from that morning. Mark's face filled the screen. He was being interviewed outside his office, looking devastated. My mother was everything to me, Video Mark was saying, his voice breaking. To discover that the woman I married, the woman I trusted to care for Mom in her final days. He wiped his eyes. Harper love-bombed my mother when she was vulnerable, made her believe her own son didn't care about her. And now we find out she may have forged documents, manipulated a dying woman. It's heartbreaking. The interviewer's voice. You're saying your wife isolated your mother? My sisters and I weren't allowed to visit in the final weeks. Harper said Mom was too tired, too sick. But now, I wonder, was she keeping us away so she could continue the manipulation? Was she drugging her? We may never know, but I hope Harper gets the help she clearly needs. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I handed it back to Elsa. My jaw was clenched so tight I could taste blood. He's good, I said flatly. He's a sociopath, Elsa corrected. And he's not done. You need to be careful, Harper. She wasn't wrong. That afternoon, I went to court for the restraining order hearing Mark had filed. His lawyer presented evidence, a recording of me saying, "You'll pay for this," in an angry voice. Made me sound threatening. Dangerous. What they didn't play was the full context. Mark had eaten my lunch out of the fridge. Again. For the 3rd time that week. I'd said, "You'll pay for this," meaning he'd have to buy me lunch. We'd laughed about it. But cut down to just those 4 words, I sounded unhinged. The judge granted the restraining order. I had to stay 500 feet away from Mark, from his office, from his sisters. Your Honor, I tried to speak up. I have evidence that— Ms. Donovan, the judge interrupted. You're currently under investigation for elder abuse. I suggest you focus on your criminal case before making accusations against your husband. Request granted. Next case. Walking out of that courtroom, I felt my phone buzzing. Text from my mom again. Harper, your father and I are very concerned. Did you really do those things Mark is saying? We need to talk. Please call me. Even my own parents were doubting me. Mark had gotten to them, probably called them crying, played the devastated husband card, asked them to help Harper see reason. I sat in my car in the courthouse parking lot and cried for the first time since this whole nightmare started. Ugly, crying. Mascara everywhere. Not my pretty tears down the cheek crying. The kind where you can't breathe and your face gets all puffy. Have you ever felt completely betrayed by someone you trusted? That's where I was. Rock bottom. Husband turned out to be a criminal. Family didn't believe me. Facing criminal charges. Teaching license under review. No job, no money for a decent lawyer. But then I remembered something Patricia had said. Harper, you're stronger than you know. When the time comes, you'll understand why I chose you. I wiped my face. Started the car. I wasn't done yet. I called Forrest, Patricia's gardener. He'd worked for her for 20 years. If Elsa had backup documents, maybe Forrest knew something too. Ms. Harper, Forrest answered immediately. I was hoping you'd call. I need to tell you something. Mrs. Patricia, she talked to me about Mr. Mark, said he was in trouble. Bad trouble. She was worried. What did she tell you? She said she caught him in meetings at the house. Late-night meetings with men in suits. They'd lock themselves in her study. She'd hear them talking about accounts and transfers and clients. After they left, she'd find papers in the trash, bank statements, names of elderly folks she knew. Mrs. Patricia, she kept everything. Made copies. Do you know where those copies are? She had a filing cabinet in the garden shed. Said nobody would think to look there. Want me to check? Yes. But Forrest, be careful. Mark is dangerous. I know, Ms. Harper. I know. While Forrest checked the garden shed, I contacted Patricia's accountant, a guy named James who'd handled her personal finances for decades. If anyone had the original, unaltered financial records, it would be him. James agreed to meet me the next day. Said he'd been suspicious of some transactions for years, but Patricia had always brushed off his concerns. Now he understood why. She'd been investigating quietly. I'll testify, James said on the phone. I have backups of everything. Every suspicious wire transfer, every fake account Mark opened. I was going to bring it to the police after Patricia passed, but then I heard about your arrest and I got scared. But this isn't right. Mark needs to be stopped. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. I had Elsa. I had Forrest. I had James. People who knew the truth. People who were willing to stand with me. That hope lasted exactly 12 hours. The next morning, James's office building caught fire. Electrical fault, the news said. The entire suite where he kept his paper records, destroyed. James himself survived, but when I called him that afternoon, his voice was different. Harper, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I was mistaken about those transactions. I must have misremembered the details. I can't testify. James, what happened? Did someone threaten you? I have to go. He hung up. I found out later he'd bought a new Porsche. Cash. Same day as the fire. You're thinking I should have gone to the police, right? I thought that too. But Mark was 3 steps ahead. When I tried to report the intimidation, the detective assigned to my case turned out to be Mark's college roommate. Small world, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Case closed. Insufficient evidence. That night, Elsa called me panicking. Harper, someone broke into my apartment. They didn't take anything valuable, just papers. The copies Patricia gave me, all gone. And there was a note on my bed, stay quiet or join Patricia. My blood ran cold. Get somewhere safe, right now. Go to a friend's house, a hotel, anywhere but your apartment. After I hung up, I went to check my car. Something felt wrong. I don't know what made me look, but I found it. A GPS tracker under the wheel well. Someone was monitoring my movements. I left the tracker there. Didn't want them to know I'd found it. But that night, I parked my car at a friend's house and took an Uber home. If Mark wanted to track me, let him track an empty car. The next morning, I went to move my car back to my place. When I pressed the brake pedal, it went straight to the floor. No resistance. No stopping power. I managed to coast into a parking lot. Hands shaking, I looked under the car. The brake lines had been cut, cleanly, deliberately. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Accidents happen. Drive safely. My throat was so tight I couldn't swallow. He was willing to kill me. Actually, kill me. Over money. Over ego. Over his sick need to win. I reported it to the police. Same detective. Same dismissive smile. Looks like mechanical failure to me. These things happen with older cars. You should get it serviced more regularly. I was 28 years old. My car was 3 years old. This wasn't mechanical failure. This was attempted murder. But who was going to believe me? The woman accused of elder abuse and forgery? The manipulative wife who'd turned a dying woman against her own son? In Mark's version of the story, I was the villain, and he'd made sure everyone believed it. That's when Elsa called again. Harper, I found something. Patricia didn't just document Mark's theft from her. She documented everything, the whole operation. There are at least 23 victims. Names, amounts, dates. Mark wasn't working alone. There are others involved. Important people. What kind of people? Lawyers, a judge. Someone at the medical examiner's office. Patricia was building a RICO case. That's why she left everything to you. She knew Mark had connections. She needed someone on the outside. Someone no one would suspect. Someone who couldn't be bought. I thought about Patricia choosing me. About all those lunches where she'd ask about my values, my principles. She'd been vetting me, testing me, making sure I was the right person to trust with this. And now I understood why Mark was so desperate to destroy me. This wasn't just about inheritance. It was about survival. If Patricia's evidence came out, Mark would go to prison. So would everyone helping him. They had to discredit me completely. Make sure nobody would believe anything I said. Elsa, I said slowly, did Patricia tell anyone else about this? Anyone in authority? I don't know. She kept things close, but knowing Patricia, she probably had a backup plan. She always did. I hung up and thought about Patricia's letter. Watch the videos, she'd written. Then decide what to do. I'd watched the first video, but there were 46 more. What was on them? I spent that night watching every single recording. Patricia had documented everything. Names, dates, amounts. She'd recorded phone calls, with consent, she noted carefully. She'd photographed documents. She'd even recorded Mark's late-night meetings in her study from a hidden camera. In the final video, recorded 3 days before she died, Patricia looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, Harper, it means I'm gone and Mark has made his move. I'm sorry. I know this is hard, but you're the only person I trust to do what's right. I've sent copies of everything to a lawyer friend in New York. He has instructions to forward everything to the FBI if anything happens to you or if I die under suspicious circumstances. The system is corrupt, but federal jurisdiction is harder to control. You're not alone in this. I made sure of that. Fight, Harper. You're stronger than you know. I stared at the screen after the video ended. Patricia had sent evidence to the FBI? Why hadn't they acted yet? Had they received it? Was it buried somewhere in a database? Or had Mark gotten to them too? I needed to know. But if I contacted the FBI directly, Mark would find out. He was monitoring me, following me, trying to isolate me from anyone who might help. I looked at the calendar. The restraining order hearing was in 2 days. Mark would be there, his lawyers. Maybe even his mysterious connections. What I needed was proof that couldn't be destroyed, testimony that couldn't be bought, evidence that was already in federal hands. If Patricia had really sent everything to the FBI, then somewhere in their system was a complete case file against Mark and his network. I just had to figure out how to make them look at it, and how to stay alive long enough to see it through. Have you ever been so scared you couldn't sleep? Couldn't eat? But you kept going anyway because stopping meant losing everything? That's where I was. Terrified, but determined. Mark thought he'd won, thought he'd scared me into submission, bought off everyone who might help me, destroyed every piece of evidence. But he'd underestimated Patricia, and he'd underestimated me. The woman I'd been 2 weeks ago, the one who trusted her husband, who believed in happy endings, she was gone. What was left? Someone willing to do whatever it took to get justice, even if it meant going to war with people who'd already tried to kill me. Will the FBI believe me, or is Mark's corruption deep enough to escape justice one final time? The restraining order hearing was scheduled for Thursday morning. I showed up in my most conservative dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, played the part of subdued, possibly medicated wife. Let them think I was broken. Mark arrived with an entourage. His lawyer, a shark in a $2,000 suit. His sisters dabbing their eyes with tissues. Even a crisis counselor who testified about the trauma Mark was experiencing from my psychological abuse. I sat there and took it. Didn't argue. Didn't defend myself. Just nodded when my court-appointed lawyer suggested we accept the restraining order to show cooperation with the legal process. After the hearing, Mark's lawyer approached me in the hallway. "Ms. Donovan, my client is willing to be generous. You sign the divorce papers, waive any claim to Patricia's estate, and we'll recommend the DA drop the criminal charges. You walk away with $50,000 and your freedom. It's more than fair." I looked at him with dead eyes. "I need time to think." "You have 48 hours. After that, the offer expires and we proceed to trial." He handed me his card. "Think carefully. Murder charges carry serious sentences." Murder charges. They'd escalated from elder abuse to murder, because of course they had. I got in my car. New brake lines. Courtesy of a mechanic friend who owed me a favor and didn't ask questions, and drove to a park where I knew I wouldn't be followed. Made a call. "Lisbeth? It's Harper, Patricia's daughter-in-law." Lisbeth was Patricia's goddaughter, a forensic accountant who'd moved to Seattle years ago. Patricia had mentioned her once, saying, "She's the only one in the family worth a damn." Harper, "Oh my God, I heard about the arrest. I'm so sorry. I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know if—" "I need your help. Patricia was investigating Mark for fraud. Did she ever contact you about it?" Silence. Then, "Yes. She sent me files 6 months ago. Asked me to track where money was going. I found shell companies, fake accounts, money laundering. I told her to go to the police, but she said she needed more evidence first." "Do you still have those files?" "Every single one. Backed up in 3 locations. I'm not stupid enough to keep them in just one place." I almost cried from relief. "Can you send them to me? And would you be willing to testify?" "Send them to you?" "No. Too risky if they're monitoring your email. But I can do better. I can file a report with the SEC and FinCEN. Financial crimes investigation. They have to follow up on documented evidence, and once it's in the federal system, it can't just disappear." "How long would that take?" "If I file today, they'd have to open an investigation within 30 days. But Harper, this isn't just about Mark. Patricia found evidence of a much bigger operation. If I file this report, it's going to blow up a lot of people's lives. Are you sure you want to do this?" I thought about Patricia's final video, about her telling me to fight, about the 23 elderly victims who'd been robbed by Mark and his network. "File it, today." "Okay, but you need to be careful. These people have resources. They've already shown they're willing to kill to protect themselves." After I hung up with Lisbeth, I met with Forrest at a diner off the highway. He'd found Patricia's filing cabinet in the garden shed. "It was locked," Forrest said, sliding a folder across the table. "But I got it open. There's a lot here, Ms. Harper. Bank statements, photos of Mark with these men in suits, recordings. Mrs. Patricia." She was thorough. I flipped through the folder. There were printouts of wire transfers, screenshots of fake company registrations, photos of Mark meeting with a man whose face I recognized, Judge Atticus Riley, family court judge, the same judge who'd granted Mark's restraining order. "Oh my God," I whispered. The corruption went higher than I'd thought. "There's more," Forrest said. "I found this hidden in the back." He handed me a smaller envelope. Inside was a letter addressed to the FBI field office in New York. Stamped, sealed, ready to mail, but never sent. Mrs. Patricia died before she could mail it, Forrest explained. I think she was going to send it the day she had her final heart attack. I opened the letter carefully. It was Patricia's statement explaining everything: names, dates, evidence locations. And at the bottom, if anything happens to me or to Harper Donovan, please know it was not natural causes. My son Mark and his associates will stop at nothing to prevent this information from becoming public. Forrest, can you get me back into Patricia's house? I need to get to her computer. Mr. Mark changed the locks. But I still have the key to the garden door. When do you want to go? Tonight, after dark. I spent the rest of the day preparing, made copies of everything Forrest had given me, stored them in multiple locations, sent encrypted emails to my lawyer with instructions to release everything if something happened to me. Then I did something risky. I drove to Mark's office building, parked across the street, waited. At 6:30, he came out. Not alone, with Judge Riley and two men I didn't recognize. They got into a black SUV together, laughing, relaxed. Like they didn't have a care in the world. I followed them, kept my distance. They drove to an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind where entrees cost $200 and the sommelier has a PhD in wine. I couldn't get inside without being seen, but I didn't need to. I just needed photos of them together, proof that Mark and Judge Riley had a relationship beyond the courtroom. I sat in my car across the street, taking pictures through the restaurant windows with my phone, Mark's hand on the judge's shoulder, all four men toasting with champagne, laughing at some joke. Meanwhile, Mark had just testified in court that he barely knew Judge Riley, that the restraining order was decided purely on the evidence presented. These photos proved that was a lie. My phone buzzed, text from unknown number. Stop what you're doing. Last warning. I looked around. No one suspicious nearby, but they were watching. Somehow, they always knew. I drove away, took a random route home, kept checking my mirrors. No one followed, or if they did, they were better than I was at detecting surveillance. That night, Forrest met me at Patricia's house at midnight. We went in through the garden door. The house was dark, quiet. It smelled like Patricia's lavender perfume. I felt my chest tighten. Her study is upstairs, I whispered. We need her computer. We crept up the stairs. The study door was closed. When I opened it, I froze. The entire room had been cleared out. Desk empty, filing cabinets gone, bookshelves bare. Even the rug had been removed. He took everything, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Not everything. Forrest walked to the fireplace, pressed a brick in a specific pattern. A small panel popped open. Mrs. Patricia showed me this once, said it was for emergencies. Inside the hidden panel was a small safe. Forrest didn't know the combination, but I did. Patricia had told me once years ago, said it was her birthday plus her wedding anniversary. I tried it. The safe clicked open. Inside, a USB drive, Patricia's original will on legal paper, and a handwritten note. Harper, this is my insurance policy. If you're reading this, my backup plan failed. But you're smart. You'll figure out what to do. The USB contains everything, every video, every document, every piece of evidence. I sent copies to the FBI on November 3rd, addressed to Agent Sarah Mitchell, Financial Crimes Division. If they haven't acted by the time you find this, you'll need to reach out directly. Agent Mitchell was a friend of your mother's in college. She'll remember the name. She's one of the good ones. Trust her. I'm sorry to put this on you, but you're the only one strong enough to carry this through. With love always, Patricia. November 3rd was 3 weeks before Patricia died. The FBI had the evidence. They'd had it for weeks. Why hadn't they done anything? We need to go, Forrest urged. I hear something downstairs. We grabbed everything from the safe and ran, got out through the garden door just as the lights flicked on inside the house. Security system Mark must have installed. In my car, I looked at the USB drive. My hands were shaking. This was it. Everything Patricia had died protecting. Everything Mark had killed to suppress. The next morning, I went to the bank. Patricia's safety deposit box. The lawyer had given me the key at the will reading. But when I got there, the bank manager looked uncomfortable. Ms. Donovan, I'm sorry. That box was already accessed and emptied. What? By who? Mr. Mark Donovan. He had a duplicate key. He came in 2 days after Mrs. Patricia's death. Everything was removed. My stomach dropped. Do you have security footage? I can request it, but it will take a few days to... My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Just a photo. Him, holding a stack of documents over a fire pit, all of them burning. And a message. Looking for something? He'd beaten me to every piece of physical evidence. The accountant's records, destroyed. The safety deposit box, cleared out. Patricia's house, gutted. But he didn't know about the USB drive in Patricia's hidden safe, or the files Lisbeth had. Or the letter Patricia had written to the FBI. That afternoon, I finally contacted Agent Sarah Mitchell. Took 3 tries to get through to the right department. When I finally got her on the phone, I barely got 2 sentences out before she interrupted. Harper Donovan, we've been trying to reach you. Can you come to our field office? Today, if possible. It's urgent. You know who I am? Patricia Donovan sent us a comprehensive evidence package 3 weeks ago. We've been investigating quietly. We were waiting for the right moment to move, but given recent developments with your case, we need to talk. Now. I sat there in my car outside the bank, phone pressed to my ear, barely breathing. Ms. Donovan, are you still there? I'm here. What developments? Your husband just transferred $28 million to offshore accounts in the past 48 hours. We've been monitoring his transactions since Patricia's package arrived. He's running. We need to move now, but we need your testimony. Will you help us? Would I help them? They were asking if I'd help them take down the man who'd tried to have me killed, who'd stolen from his dying mother, who'd destroyed my life. I'll be there in an hour. I drove to the FBI field office in downtown Manhattan. Agent Mitchell met me at security. She was 50-ish, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. Patricia spoke highly of you, Agent Mitchell said as we walked to her office. Said you were the only person in Mark's life with a conscience. I didn't know what he was doing. I swear I didn't. We know. We've looked into your finances. You're clean. This is all Mark and his network. She sat down at her desk, pulled up files on her computer. What Patricia sent us. It's damning. RICO charges for Mark and 6 associates. Wire fraud, elder abuse, money laundering. We have 23 victims so far, but we think there are more. 23, I repeated. 23 elderly people. 23 families destroyed. Judge Riley is one of the targets, Agent Mitchell continued. He approved fraudulent conservatorships that gave Mark access to victims' assets. The medical examiner falsified death certificates to hide suspicious deaths. 2 lawyers helped Mark forge documents. It's a whole network. Can you prove it? With Patricia's evidence? Absolutely. She recorded everything. But here's the problem. Mark is about to run. We tracked him booking flights to the Cayman Islands. If he leaves the country, extradition gets complicated. So arrest him now. We need one more piece. Patricia mentioned a video where Mark explicitly admits to the scheme. Do you know where that video is? I thought about the USB drive in my purse. 47 videos. I hadn't watched them all yet. I might have it, but it's not here. It's in a safe place. Can you get it? Today? Yes. Then we move tomorrow morning. Coordinated arrests. Mark, the judge, everyone. We'll need you to testify eventually, but for now, we just need that video. I went home and watched all 47 videos again. Found what Agent Mitchell needed in video NUR 39. Mark, drunk, bragging to someone off camera about the perfect system. Mom's so trusting. Drunk Mark slurred. She signs whatever I put in front of her. By the time she figures it out, I'll have everything moved offshore. And if she causes problems, Atticus will declare her incompetent. The medical examiner will find natural causes. It's foolproof. The person off camera asked, "What about your wife?" Harper. She's too naive to see it. If she ever figures it out, we'll deal with her the same way we dealt with Mom's first lawyer. Accidents happen. I watched that part 3 times. He'd admitted to having Patricia's lawyer killed, admitted to planning the same for me. I sent the video to Agent Mitchell, encrypted email. Confirmation came back in minutes. This is exactly what we needed. Stay safe. We'll have agents near your location tonight, just in case Mark tries something. That night, I barely slept. Every noise made me jump. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Text from unknown number. "I know what you did. I know you talked to the FBI. You just made the biggest mistake of your life." I called Agent Mitchell. "He knows." "We're moving up the timeline. Arrests will happen at 6 a.m. Stay inside. Lock your doors. We have agents outside your building." At 5:30 a.m., I heard sirens. Lots of them. I looked out my window. FBI vehicles, SWAT team. They were raiding Mark's apartment building 4 blocks away. My phone rang. "Agent Mitchell." "We have him. Mark, Judge Riley, all of them. It's over." But it wasn't over. Not yet. The real ending came 6 weeks later in federal court. I sat in the gallery of the federal courthouse, watching Mark enter in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. He'd lost weight. His expensive suit was gone, replaced with prison-issued clothes. But his eyes, still that same cold calculation, still trying to work an angle. The prosecution presented Patricia's evidence. All 47 videos played in open court, bank statements projected on screens, testimony from victims' families. The forensic accountant Lisbeth walked the jury through the money trail, $12 million from Patricia, $16 million from other victims, all funneled through shell companies Mark controlled. Then it was Mark's turn to testify. His lawyer tried to paint him as a devoted son whose mother had suffered from mental illness, tried to suggest I'd manipulated the evidence. But then the prosecution played video doc 39, Mark's drunk confession. The courtroom went silent. You could hear people breathing. The jury's faces changed. Whatever sympathy Mark's performance had earned, gone. "Mr. Donovan," the prosecutor said calmly, "that's your voice on the recording, correct?" Mark's lawyer objected, but it didn't matter. Everyone had heard it. Then Mark snapped, right there in court. "She wasn't supposed to leave everything to Harper," he shouted. "I spent 15 years waiting. 15 years! That money was mine. I earned it putting up with her sanctimonious lectures about integrity and honesty." His lawyer tried to quiet him, but Mark kept going. "You think I'm the only one? Judge Riley signed off on everything. He's sitting right there. Arrest him too." Mark pointed at the judge in the defendant's section. "And what about Senator Morrison? He took his cut. What about—" The marshals restrained him, but the damage was done. He'd just confessed in open court and implicated even more people. Judge Atticus Riley tried to leave. Federal marshals blocked the doors. In the chaos, Mark's sisters Emma and Grace attempted to slip out. They didn't make it. Turns out Patricia's evidence showed they'd helped Mark access her accounts, forge her signature on documents. They were arrested on the spot. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Mark got 28 years in federal prison. No parole. All assets seized for victim restitution. His law license revoked. His reputation destroyed. Judge Riley got 15 years. The medical examiner got 12 for falsifying death certificates and helping cover up suspicious deaths. Mark's sisters each got 8 years as accessories. The FBI recovered most of the money. 23 families got restitution. Patricia's estate went to creating the Elder Protection Legal Fund, free legal services for elderly people facing financial abuse. And me? They dropped all charges, expunged my record. My teaching license was reinstated. The school district even offered me my job back with back pay for the time I was suspended, but I didn't go back. Instead, I used part of Patricia's inheritance to start a foundation, the Patricia Donovan Center for Elder Rights. We train lawyers, fund investigations, and help families recognize the warning signs of financial abuse. 6 months after the trial, I visited Patricia's grave, first time since the funeral. I brought flowers, lavender, her favorite. "You were right," I said aloud, even though I felt ridiculous talking to a headstone. I was strong enough. I just didn't know it yet. The wind picked up, rustling the tree branches. For a second, I could have sworn I smelled lavender perfume. I left the flowers and walked back to my car. My phone buzzed. Email from the foundation. Another case. Another family needing help. Another elder being exploited by someone they trusted. This was my life now, fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. making sure Patricia's death meant something, making sure her courage wasn't wasted. Mark sent me a letter from prison once. I didn't open it, returned it marked refused. I didn't need his apologies or explanations. I didn't need closure from him. Patricia had given me something better than closure. She'd given me purpose. Last week, I got news that Mark's final appeal was denied. 28 years. He'll be 70 when he gets out. If he lives that long. I didn't celebrate. Didn't feel vindicated or victorious. Just tired and grateful. Grateful Patricia saw something in me I didn't see in myself. Grateful she trusted me with the truth when no one else would. Sometimes the strongest legacy isn't money. It's choosing the right person to trust with your truth. Patricia knew that. She gambled everything on me being worthy of that trust. I hope I proved her right. The other day, I was giving a presentation at a law school about elder financial abuse. A student asked, "What would you say to someone who's just discovered their loved one is being exploited?" I thought about it. About Mark's transformation from loving husband to monster. About Patricia's quiet investigation. About the moment I had to decide whether to fight or surrender. Document everything, I said. Trust your instincts. And remember, the people who love you won't ask you to choose between your safety and their secrets. Real love doesn't demand silence. After the presentation, a woman in her 30s approached me. She looked shaken. "I think my father-in-law is stealing from my husband's grandmother," she said quietly. "But my husband won't believe me. Says I'm paranoid, that his father would never—" "Tell me everything," I said. And I listened, because that's what Patricia did for me. She listened. She believed me when no one else would. This is my life now. This is Patricia's legacy. Not the money, not the estate. The courage to speak up. The strength to fight back. The wisdom to know that sometimes the people who seem the most trustworthy are the ones who've perfected the art of deception. I'll never forget walking into that lawyer's office and hearing I'd inherited $40 million. But more importantly, I'll never forget realizing Patricia had given me something more valuable than money. She'd given me her final mission, her dying wish, her absolute faith that I was strong enough to carry it through. I was. But I almost wasn't. And that's what I tell everyone now. You're stronger than you think. When the moment comes to fight for what's right, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. You just have to be brave enough to use it. Have you ever been the one person someone trusted with their truth? Have you ever had to fight for justice when everyone else told you to stay quiet? Share your story if you're comfortable, because these stories matter. They give other people courage. They remind us we're not alone. And sometimes that's the most powerful legacy of all.